Hi guys, it's Lindsay. Alright, this is a highly requested video that I'm doing today. I'm going to be teaching you how to frost a perfectly smooth cake. So I'm going to share with you guys all my tips and tricks and techniques and all the little secrets I've kind of piled up over the years that I've learned from trial and error for how to frost a perfectly smooth layer cake perfect for decorating. So whether you're using a box cake mix or you're making it from scratch, all these little tricks are going to help you create a totally professional looking layer cake right from home. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Go tap that subscribe button to be the first to see my all new videos. Okay, first things first, you're gonna go ahead and bake your cake layers. You can use a box mix or you can do it from scratch, but my first tip is to use bake even strips. These are just strips that you get wet and wrap around the cake pan, so when you bake it in the oven, the cake comes out perfectly level on top, so you don't have to shave off any, cake layer that domed on top or anything like that. It keeps the sides of the cake nice and soft and light in color, so you don't get like a dark crust around your cake. It's just a trick I use every time I'm making layer cakes to get that nice flat cake perfect for stacking. So after the cake layers bake, another little tip I like to do is to wrap them in plastic wrap and freeze them. It's a lot easier to work with chilled cakes, so I like to pop them in the freezer overnight. So I generally make the cakes and the frosting a day or two in advance, and I just wrap the cakes nice and good, pop them in the freezer, so then when I'm ready to assemble and decorate, everything is already done, so it's a lot easier. So then when you're ready to decorate, you're just gonna take your cakes out of the freezer and unwrap them, and then you just continue frosting as usual. My next tip, don't use canned store-bought frosting. You wanna use a homemade frosting. I typically use a homemade American buttercream frosting because it's so easy. It's just like a typical party cake frosting that's thick and sweet and creamy and light and fluffy, and it's just like the easiest frosting ever that you can make, so it's perfect for beginners. I'll give you guys the recipe in the link below. I love it because you can color it any kind of color you want. You could do it in chocolate. You could add flavor mix-ins or extracts to create different kinds of flavored frostings. It's just different from the canned store-bought frosting because that frosting from the can is just gonna be too soft and gloopy and runny, and it's not gonna hold its shape to give us that perfectly smooth cake with those nice crisp edges on top. It's also perfect because it's called a crusting buttercream, so that means it kind of hardens and loses its sticky tackiness, so we can do a nice crumb coat, let it firm up, and then do another layer right on top without everything kind of glooping together and getting all messy. Now the main tools we're using are an offset spatula. I have a small one I use for the top and a large one I use for the sides, and a cake scraper to get those perfectly smooth sides on your cake. You could probably get away with just using a large offset spatula if you don't have the other tools, but this is what I use and this is what works for me. So just go ahead and place one of the layers on a turntable. And this is my next trick for getting that perfectly smooth finish on your cake. A turntable just makes it so much easier than trying to maneuver a plate on the countertop. Then we're just gonna spread a layer of the frosting on top and smooth it off with an offset spatula or a knife. Then on goes the second layer, and another layer of filling in between. And then we're gonna position the third layer flat side up on top so we get that nice flat top. And we're gonna take about a cup of the frosting and just plop it right on top of the cake, and just make sure you smooth it all the way around. It's gonna be a super thin layer just to trap those crumbs in. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It shouldn't be perfect. It's called a crumb coat. It's just meant to trap the crumbs in there, so then when we put the final layer of frosting on, it's nice and perfect and smooth without any crumbs. So now that we have our crumb coat on our cake, I'm just gonna pop it in the freezer for about 15 minutes to let the frosting set and harden so it's no longer sticky to the touch. You can also pop it in the fridge for 30 minutes to an hour or two if you don't have room in the freezer. Alrighty, so our cake is nice and chilled, so now we're gonna add the final layer of frosting and finish it off. So go ahead and pile the frosting right on top of the cake in a big mound and start smoothing it out across the top of the cake, and go ahead and push it down to the sides of the cake. And just use your offset spatula to smooth it all the way around until the entire cake is coated in frosting. Okay, so now that all the frosting is pretty much in place, the cake's pretty smooth, it's looking good, we're gonna go in with my next trick, a bench scraper or a cake scraper. They're so cheap, I got it online, I'll leave a link. This is just a thin piece of plastic, and it just is magic. This is gonna create the most professional looking cake in just a few quick swooshes across. So just hold the cake scraper at a 90-degree angle perpendicular to the cake, and start at one edge and just turn the turntable as you move the scraper towards your body. Just go ahead and do it until you're nice and satisfied with the smoothness of your cake. And then for the top of the cake, you'll see there's a little bit of a crown, so just go in with an airplane swoosh from out to in and just swoosh in until you have that perfect edge around the top of the cake. Now we're just gonna transfer the cake to a serving dish. This part's kind of scary. Just use as many tools as you can. This is a cake lifter. You can just use 2 spatulas, whatever you've got, and just transfer it to your serving plate. Then the fun part, go ahead and decorate. You can decorate however you like. You can add sprinkles, you can do piped designs, whatever you like. You can keep it plain and show off your hard work with your perfectly smooth cake. Just go nuts. You can add drips on top, get creative. But another tip, I like to set aside a little bit of the icing before we frost the cake, about a cup or 2 to reserve for the top of the cake, so that way we can add pretty little swirls on top. If you don't want swirls on top of your cake, you don't have to do this. I just wanted to add that in there. And for anybody asking, this is my funfetti birthday cake that I made for my birthday, so I'll leave a link to this recipe too for you guys if you want to do funfetti. But I have a ton of recipes on my website that you guys are just gonna love. Now for cutting the cake, having a chilled cake is a lot easier for slicing, so the cake doesn't kind of push down or crumble as you cut it. And I also did a video on how to cut a round cake to get more slices out of the cake. It's kind of like a wedding style slice, but it's perfect for parties or getting the most out of a smaller cake. So go check out that video too. I'll leave you guys a link in the description. Alright guys, I hope you loved this little tips and tricks video of how to frost a perfectly smooth cake. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer all you guys' questions. And if you liked this kind of little tutorial video, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and I'll do more of these kind of videos for you guys. And if you guys give it a try, be sure to tag me in a picture on social media so I can see how your cakes came out, or share this video with somebody who you know would totally love this tutorial so you guys can try it together. So there you have my tips and tricks for creating a perfectly smooth layer cake. Thank you guys so much for watching and leaving me comments. You're the best. I love you so much. Don't forget, subscribe to my YouTube channel for tons more videos that I know you're gonna love, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Alright guys, you've been asking and asking, so I did it. This week on my YouTube channel, I'm showing you how to frost a perfectly smooth layer cake. So all of my little tricks and secrets for getting a perfectly smooth cake every time, go check it out.